Welcome back. IShowSpeed, real name Darren Jason Watkins Jr, is a world-famous American YouTuber and streamer known for his energetic online content. He's currently on a 20-country tour across Africa, with Namibia listed as one of the destinations. However, his planned visit drew public attention after aviation clearance was not granted. Now, to explain what happened and clarify the rules governing Namibia's airspace, we're joined this evening by Nelson Ashipala, the Manager for Stakeholders Engagement and Communication at the Namibia Civil Aviation Authority. Nelson, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Nina. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Always nice. Feels like home.
Well, to start with, Nelson, just briefly explain to us, the NCAA's mandate when it comes to regulating Namibia's airspace, especially for foreign and private operators.
Okay, thank you so much, Nina. Yes, the Civil Aviation Act is quite simple. It is to protect the airspace of Namibia. And one thing that we also like to highlight is that we should remember aviation is it's a global phenomenon. The global, by we mean conditions are cut across the whole world. So basically, when we say Namibia is supposed to regulate the airspace of Namibia, the regulations speak to each and every operator that is within the Namibian airspace. And also, most importantly, also these global aviation acts and so forth and restrictions, they are the same countrywide, I mean worldwide. This is mostly the case because Namibia is a signatory of the International Civil Aviation Authority organization, that is the ICAO. What this does is it allows for international standards to be the same across the board. It ensures that operators within the airspace internationally, in Namibia, in Angola, everywhere, we share the same standards and so forth. So there are about 193 signatories to ICAO, and Namibia is unfortunately one of those. So we have to conform to international standards and so forth. So this is basically the mandate of the Civil Aviation Authority.
Well, the directive that came forth obviously drew lots of public attention, after his clearance was not granted. But explain to us what exactly went wrong with this application.
Okay, within the standards and procedures around that governs aviation, we have what we call the notice, Government Notice 58 of 1998. So what this notice does is it gives birth to the concept of an operator. If an airplane flies into Namibia with a maximum of 9 passengers, I repeat, the civil aviation is allowed by law to allow for that or to grant permission for that operator to land in Namibia. However, exceeding that has to come from the Transport Commissioner. That is not from the Ministry of Works and Transport. So unfortunately for this operator, I don't want to refer to the name for now, but then unfortunately for this operator, they were not able to get permission from the government because they were more than 9. In fact, they were 13 passengers on this flight. So what this means is that they came to Civil Aviation and they said, look, we would like to land in Namibia. But then we said, no, we're fine with you landing. However, you have to go back to ensure that you do things correctly. Get permission from the Transport Commissioner, which unfortunately was not the case. So unfortunately for us, standards is standards, rules are rules, procedures are procedures. We said, if this doesn't happen, unfortunately, you cannot land on the Namibian soil.
Private plane on Namibian soil.
On Namibian soil, yes. In fact, entering our airspace. So all of these challenges that came about, I don't want to call them challenges, but it was just rules that had to be conformed to. And unfortunately, civil aviation is one of those things whereby safety takes priority over anything else, who you are, what you do in your society standing. Unfortunately, we have to conform to international standards. And so this is why this could not happen.
Well, this private plane that he's trying to use as transportation to land in Namibia with his team also landed in other African countries. And you mentioned that the standards that we adhere to are global standards. So does this mean that they might have relaxed their standards a little bit for him, or given him, special permission to be able to land with these 13 passengers on a private plane on their soil?
Okay, actually, I cannot speak to other countries on how they're able to do it. because what we have confirmed is that their first plane which they came with, it might have broken down or it might have faced some complications somewhere, so then they could not continue, so they had to bring in a plane from a different chartered company.
Right.
So what we are saying is, for us, we just had to conform to our Namibian standards, unfortunately. So whether whichever countries he visited, whether it's Botswana, Zimbabwe, Angola, whether they were able to bend rules and so forth, that we are not privy to. But what we're saying is that it goes beyond just requesting for these private companies or these chartered companies to land in Namibia. Because we should remember, like everybody else in aviation, we are audited as a country. And auditing requires that you have to meet certain standards. Now, here are the challenges that comes with not hitting the mark when it comes to auditing. Aviation being a whole global sector, you'll just hear Ethiopian Airlines cannot land in Namibia anymore. What does this do to us? You know, we've been leaning this whole concept to tourism. We are saying tourism will be much more affected if this happens. So unfortunately, what we are saying is rules are rules, unfortunately. They just have to be condoned to. Yeah.
Well, the public is saying, of course, and they're saying that, you know, the regulations are too rigid and discouraging international visitors and content creators. So do these regulations, you know, get reevaluated, you know, after 2, 3, 4, 5 years to see how they can be improved, etc.? Does that happen?
It does happen. So here's what happened. Like I've highlighted earlier, with Namibia being a signatory to ICAO, unfortunately, these standards are international. They are everywhere. They don't only speak to Namibia. And what we're saying is that operators are aware of the standards. Operators are aware what it takes for a private plane to land in Namibia. Operators are aware what it takes for a private plane to land in South Africa. It is standards across the globe. And Namibia, being a signatory, Namibia has to conform to the standards. There's also something which I'd like to bring out, you know, which is something which I know which brought joy to Namibians when the Namibia Civil Aviation Authority was named as one of the best regulators in Africa. It's because of the standards which we're able to imply on, to lean on. It's because we're able to build on them, we're able to stick to them, and once auditors come, they understand that, oh, you guys have actually done well for yourselves. So unfortunately, standards are across the world, standards are the same, standards is. Perhaps it's just important that we also acquaint ourselves with some of the standards and we just understand what it means. I'm also happy to have seen some of the comments which came from Namibians that are actually happy that we're able to say, unfortunately, rules are rules. So there are certain Namibians who do understand what this means, but I think with interviews such as, with engagements such as this, we are now hoping Namibians will now understand the background of what transpired and why it is important for us to maintain aviation standards as is. The recommendation that came from you to the operator was then in the end to fly commercially. And of course, when the news came that there was restrictions with regards to the individual coming to the country in the manner that they had requested, we then heard that, of course, the individual and his team will still be arriving in Namibia. So have they then written back to say, okay, they'll fly commercial, or where do we stand on the matter? Yes, no, thanks for that. So it's behind the scenes, there's a lot we did to ensure that this happens. Look, tourism is one of our key stakeholders. We wouldn't want to see it fail. We know what the concept of IShowSpeed is. And basically, if it comes to Namibia, we know what it will do for Namibia as a country, Namibia as a tourism. For you and me, you know, who get excited, and for those of us who are in this industry for the good of it. We did reach out to the team to say, you have this option. Now, this option was given of them having to come in commercially, not only because we thought that we are adding onto the economy when it comes to our commercial flying in. What it does is it is regulations that have already been set. So you don't have to bend any of the rules. Regulations which has been set, you fly in, you do activities you are trying to do, you shoot your content and so forth. And unfortunately, we could not reach an agreement, or perhaps they decided not to. So we are hoping that they will still entertain the idea of having to fly in commercially. Namibia is open to everyone. Namibia supports tourism. The reason why civil aviation has all these regulations in place is to ensure that we protect tourism. Because I'm telling you, Nina, if an airplane crashes in Namibia, you will see what it will do for our tourism sector. So we are saying that we are in support of what these gentlemen are supposed to be done, and we are hoping that they'll still come back and visit Namibia. We are hopeful they will. I'm also quite excited for IShowSpeed.
In the words of my 3-year-old, safety first.
There you go, there you go, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here and providing clarity on the matter, and we fingers crossed that they, you know, take a look at the options that you've provided and decide to fly commercially, or, you know, stick to the regulations, have half of the team fly private and the other half commercial, but we'd love to have them in Namibia, of course.
Fingers crossed, he'll be here.
Thank you so much, Nelson.
Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. After this brief break, we continue with our conversations here on the Daily Roundup. Stay with us.